Satnam, Amandevi here, offering a general reading. As always, explore what resonates and disregard the rest. Your awareness to your own experience is by far your greatest teacher. I got a few things yesterday and then getting a little bit more today. And I'm going to start with what I got today and then go backwards because it made more sense. Yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, sounds like I'm back teaching health class again. And I love that experience. I just didn't know what to do with what I was given. But today, it does make a little bit more sense. And they're asking me, what are you afraid to see? What are you afraid to look at? And when we have that fixation in another timeline, in a trauma, and not to disregard anyone's trauma or fear, and anyone who knows me well, probably chuckling at the fact that I talk about this because it's all too ironic, but it's when you return to that event, when you allow that insecurity, that moment, that hiccup, that connection to hold you back, part of your body, of the 10 bodies, remains in another timeline. And right now, okay, now this is making more sense. They're saying glitchy. So they are trying, with the current transits, trying to propel you forward. And with your resistance, that's where the glitches are coming into play, right? So we are getting this opportunity. It's almost like fast tracking the disillusionment and disregard for ourselves to relocate is the word they're giving me into the here and now is what I want to say. Because it's almost like spinning ourselves whole again back to center. You regroup in the here and now, no longer fixated in that previous paradigm, that pain, that pitfall that replays itself as you hold yourself back from growing forward. Okay, so what do you do? These are the questions they were giving me yesterday as far as growing forward. What do you do when you don't feel like it? Because there are those days like you don't feel like going to the gym. So what are you going to do on those days? Does it mean it's a rest day, or does it mean it's a day to push yourself? You have to know. They also were asking, like, who are your accountability partners? Who are the ones that have your back? Who are the ones that you can cry to? Who are the ones that you can lean on? And they're showing me 6 of Pentacles right now. And there's a reciprocal energy in the ebb and flow in the way that you support each other. It takes time to establish that trust, to lean. I think I'll have to put a song down below for you. Because it's the way it starts out from playing for change. He speaks to it rather than sings to it in a way that it's like, yeah, man, you're right. Sometimes you do need someone to lean on, right? They also want you to know yourself enough to know when you're drained and when you're refueled. And some of this comes through human beings, human doing. And again, what is giving you that ROI, what's giving you that 6 of Pentacles energy where it flows, and there are days that you are up, there are days you're down, it's just there's this flow of life, no different than waves or an inhale and an exhale, right? And so rather than cast a shadow on the days that you feel like you should be somewhere else, can you take a hard look at that and give yourself what you truly need and start to put together a plan for success, so that it's like, there's days you're going to be down. There's days you're going to miss that person. There's days you're going to grieve that lost loved one. Like, what will you do on those days? Perhaps those are those days that you buy some flowers and you say a prayer, right? So, or those are those days you call a friend and say, let's go to the movies. I don't know what it is for you. You have to decide what moments you're going to need support, and what is the best forward moving support that you can give yourself as not to remain stagnated, like stuck in it energy. It isn't being like fixed in an energy is far different than working with that energy as it surfaces to relocate yourself. They're using the word relocate. Or maybe that has to do with the timeline grids and shifts that they've been speaking to of late. You see what they've got everything. Who helps you check in? And who wants you to check out? I want to say. This deck was calling out, so I'll take a look at that, and I have two others. And you might want to look at the transits. I started to look them up, but I was getting a little impatient with the internet speed. And so then it might not matter. Just work with what's coming through as best you can, or as your guides, nudge you along. There will be movement. There's got to be some juggling in the meantime, and you learn how to make that happen. And not to dive in too deeply, but dive in where it's required. So the thoughts require some discernment. The conversations require some discernment. So when the energy rises, you feel that bubbling. Is it something for you to dismember? Is it your own shadow work that you need to look at rather than cast the blame on someone else, right? Or there's a multitude of ways in which we can fuel ourselves. What part of yourself are you fueling, and how? And what part of yourself truly needs attention to unravel the framework that binds you? There are times when rest is required. There's times when you have to step up, take accountability, and do the work. And there are other times when you delegate. And some of the delegating can be done with your guide team to say, hey, I feel this transition. I feel this something or another. I know it's almost like this juggling in the material, or juggling between worlds. Work with that. Call on your guide team, your ancestors, your angels, your archangels, your dragons. And remain loyal to you, to the true, authentic you, and say goodbye to what's no longer needed on your boat, who's no longer allowed on your team. You came here for a reason. You came to activate others. 222 is on the oven right now. The power's been going off, so it's not actually been set to the right time. Discern the thoughts. When I see the Queen and King, both of them are about truth-telling. You might be that truth bomb, and it might be time to let it out. And sometimes it's time to hold it back. Again, who's on your team, who's growing with you, and who is encouraging you to dive into parts of yourself that no longer need to be triggered, poked and prodded at. Say what needs to be said. It's an illusion. It's an illusion, they're saying. Who are you connected to? And how is that storyline playing out? And how are you learning to manage your energy in the process of connecting with other souls? And who are your teammates that support you in your bliss and your happiness, in that birthright? In that birthright. The Five of Cups tells us there might be something to clean up. Call in your team, your ancestors, your starseeds to help you with that, to help you release the burdens. You're not in this alone. The Two of Hearts tells us that. And sometimes the storyline plays out in ways that our rational mind would have never anticipated, right? That's our growth point. So again, who fuels you? Who drains you? What are you afraid to see in yourself? What are you afraid to see in the truth? I do hope this serves well. Sending lots of love your way. Sana.